guys. I just wanted to talk today about how strange it is that so many of us have these passions, desires, gifts, talents, skills, and we often fail to utilize them in a way that brings healing and success to both us and those around us. I find it incredibly interesting that a lot of the reason that a lot of the time the reason that we're not using these things is because of fear. Not because of lack of, not because of we're not ready, not because of anything other than just fear. And sometimes just the not having the courage to take a leap. That leap into the unknown, that leap into the what if, that leap into the dark, because the unknown can feel like dark. It can feel like the part of the video game that you haven't yet discovered, so you don't know what lies there, what gems are or loot lie there for you to retrieve. And I think the human brain really thrives off certainty, knowing exactly what we're going to get from doing a certain thing. Well, the thing about wanting to grow and evolve as a person is you have to kill that part of you. You have to really kill that part of you, because to go anywhere new, that part of you is always going to be screaming, worrying, crying, freaking the fuck out. Being like, but I don't understand. Firstly, we don't know where we're going. Secondly, we don't even know what exactly the reward is for going here. And we also don't know what the danger is. And it's a very interesting dance between the fear of staying the same and the fear of changing into everything that we've ever dreamed of and so much more. Now, whenever I feel the most expansive, it's in the times where I'm creating, I'm pursuing my dreams, I'm being very proactive in either taking action towards the things that I want to achieve or that I'm passionate in, practicing the things that I'm passionate about for fun, and just a byproduct of that is improving, and then cultivating a space within my mind where I'm able to, and I will be able to, hold the elevated frequency that I'm welcoming in and cultivating, and more material possessions and more visibility and all of the things that comes with reaching this state, this place that we're trying to reach. The things that comes with that, there's so much good, and then there's actually a little bit more work and a little bit more organisation that needs to happen, a little bit more planning. And those things are a big part of what keeps us small, and a big part of what stops us taking the steps that we need to take, the aligned steps that we need to take in order to get to where we need to go and where we want to go. It's one thing to say what's scarier, the thought of stepping into the unknown and potentially entering dangerous territory, and also potentially becoming the person of your dreams, or staying the same forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, never changing, never discovering everything that you were meant to discover, because of that fear of either failure or success. And it's weird because I think fear of failure and fear of success work in very similar ways. They feel very similar in the body for me, I think, where sometimes I don't know which one it is that I'm feeling. I think it's probably important for us to really sit and figure out the difference between the two, or potentially just get to a place where we acknowledge that we won't always be able to figure out which one it is we're feeling at any given moment, and learn to treat them the same, understand that they are trying to protect us from the same things, basically being hurt. You know, fear of failure is trying to protect us from being publicly humiliated, being exiled, being disgraced, being shamed. Fear of success comes because, not because success is inherently bad or evil or we're not worthy of it. Fear of success, I think, comes more because we know, or we're worried that we don't have all the things figured out that we will need to hold that state of success. So financial literacy, even just things as like, so managing our money, managing like being very active on things like social media, or being more reserved with what you share online, because then people can find out things about you, like where you live. Like there's so much that goes into it that we almost block ourselves, I think, from the blessings that it brings, because what it would mean to have all of these great things also comes with some work, also comes with a little bit of baggage, but the baggage is so worth it. And I want us to be able to get to a place where, instead of, oh, I need to be more financial literate if I want to be a millionaire, instead of that being like the thing that stops you getting there, if anything, I think then learn how to manage your money better, learn how to invest, learn all the things you're going to need to know, learn how the rich think, read books, watch videos, like ask people you know that know about investing. Like, instead of allowing that to make you go into like a fawn state or a freeze state where you just do nothing and just don't achieve anything, don't take any steps out of that fear, use it as like a sort of fuel to be like, okay, cool, actually, if this person, all these people are able to cultivate this wealth in a manageable, sustainable way, there's no reason why I'm not as well. Just because my background might have been more scarcity based, and maybe the people around me aren't holding massive amounts of money currently, that doesn't mean anything unless I allow it to mean something. That's the interesting thing. Anything only has the amount of power over us that we give it. And that's not because anything outside of us is so powerful. It's because we are powerful enough to give it that power. And it's a very interesting thing, because this can be put across all different areas of our lives: relationships, friendships, love, money, everything. Like how we're living, how we talk about ourselves, the thoughts we have, the actions we take, how someone else treats us. It only has the amount of power that we give it, because we are so powerful. And I think it's probably very similar when it comes to these thoughts about fear of failure and fear of success. And I think they're interconnected. I think it's really interesting that most people suffer from the disease of wanting to shrink themselves, because most people really want to be liked. And in order to be liked on a mass scale, you've got to be relatable. And in order to be relatable, you have to be like everyone else, or at least mostly like everyone else in some sort of way. Ironically, we are all very similar in so many ways, but on the surface we can all appear very different because we're so attached to our physical form. But if we're talking purely on the physical, in order to be relatable, you have to be the same as those around you. And if those around you aren't millionaires, if those around you aren't really happy all the time, if those around you aren't in loving, healthy relationships, then in order to be relatable, you have to be the same as them. And so you can't have loving, healthy relationships, you can't have a lot of money, you can't be happy. So to be successful, you almost have to choose between belonging in this like ecosystem, this sort of place that a lot of people belong and find almost a comfort in being, which is like not having money, complaining a lot, not being in a happy relationship, and not putting the effort in to change any of those things. And then you walking away from everyone who's in those sorts of situations, and being like, actually, wait a minute, this isn't this can't be it for me. Like, this can't run. And that's the scary thing to do, is to like sort of remove yourself from the safety net of other people. And it's such a shame that we feel like we have to choose, but sometimes we do have to choose. And that's not forever. It doesn't mean that we can't have any sort of relationship with the people that operate those sorts of ways. It just means we have to maybe temporarily just create a sort of disconnect and take the risk of removing ourselves from the comfort of belonging because of suffering, because it is like it's a collective suffering that people sort of connect over sometimes. And I understand why, I get it, it makes sense, we've all been there. But at some point you have to say, would I rather be temporarily alone, or just with a much, much smaller group of people, and then get the life I want, which in turn encompasses the people I want, the money I want, the relationships I want, the happiness I want? Or would I rather stay here, small, with people around me, but actually they're not operating on the system I want to operate on. Therefore, I think it's probably keeping me stuck in a sort of the in-between, the liminal space between who I want to be and who I am, or who I was. And it's like, you have to at some point ask that question. And I'll be real, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I don't think either of them is better, either of them is right, either of them is wrong. I think there's benefits to both sides. But I think as an individual, you get to a place where you begin to no longer be able to stay with the stress, the suffering, the constant cycle of suffering, of lack, of scarcity, of complaining. Like, and when you get to that place, you're not always going to be ready to like jump straight away. Sometimes you're going to want to sit on the edge of the cliff for like a while. Sometimes that looks like years, sometimes that looks like a week. But I hope that if you feel like you're ready to take the leap, that I just hope that you know that all the things that you're scared of losing, you will regain them in a much more aligned way when things begin to work out. And with great risk can come great reward. And it's time to increase your visibility and allow yourself to shine in all the ways that you're supposed to shine. Because if something has been placed on your heart, if something has been put in your psyche as this thing that you're supposed to do, achieve, to make the world a better place, to make your life better, it's there for a reason, and it's there for a very big reason. It's not a minor thing. It's a very, very big, important thing that you have to carry out in your lifetime. And a lot of people won't carry it out in their lifetime. I'm just going to put it straight. Like, in this specific incarnation, so a lot of people will not carry out what they're supposed to carry out. And maybe they'll do parts of it, and that's all cool, and it's not a shaming, it's not one's better than the other again. It's like, a lot of us do the best with what we can at the time. But it is possible to surpass your wildest dreams and imagination with what you can create and achieve. And the scariest thing to me, more scary than failing a million times, is never changing and never growing and never evolving and never becoming who I was always supposed to become.